Welcome back to the Corporate Rejects podcast, and welcome if this is your first time listening in. I am your show host, Amanda Davila, and I am excited to continue to provide support and empowerment through your journey to entrepreneurship. Hey, it's Amanda Davila again. I'm so glad that you are here, and today I wanted to talk about how the coronavirus has empowered online business owners. So I know that a lot of people have been really put out by, the pandemic and everything going on. A lot of people have seen incredible tragedy, and it's heartbreaking, and I feel for all of those affected. We're all affected in some way, but there's definitely some that have been affected drastically. Just here in Maui, all of the businesses that have had to shut down and, the families that have been impacted by that, it's heartbreaking. And I really wanted to talk about the other side of the business world. The traditional way, at least here in the U.S., is you go to school, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a job. Like, that's the traditional way. Or even if you don't go to college, you still get a job. And you work yourself to death for someone else. You're basically a slave. You're trading your time for money. And by the time you're done doing that, you're exhausted. It's not a good setup, first of all. Especially if you have a family. I mean, for anyone that has to work, which is most of us, you work yourself to death just to pay the bills. So you're working so you can survive. And so many of us don't end up having the time or resources to fulfill our dreams, to follow our passions, whether that's crocheting or surfing or traveling or whatever it might be. And some people I know even decide not to have a family because it feels too big of a responsibility and too impossible in this world to support a family and still follow your dreams. And that's heartbreaking. That absolutely just destroys me that so many of us don't feel that we have that option, that we can be a family person and we can fulfill our passions. And I've been there. I mean, most of my life I've been there. I grew up in the same way where, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a job, you work yourself to death, and your whole life is about pleasing your employer. And that is such BS. Being a great employee was always important to me. And I always was a great employee. But it didn't fulfill me, and it didn't help me personally. Yes, I felt like a good employee, and that was something I could always say, I'm such a great employee. My career is booming. I'm so good for my employer. But I found, and it happened really after having my son, life changed. Life's meaning changed for me. And I really realized that there's so much more, and that being and, working for somebody else, while important at the time to make the money that we needed to pay the bills and survive, it didn't light me up, and it didn't do anything to strengthen my family. Being an employee, I would say the majority of time, based on my experience and the experience of others that I've talked to about it, being an employee it pays the bills. And maybe you get some sort of, something from it. I worked as a nurse, so I got the fulfillment of helping people, assisting to heal people, and that was incredible. So that part of it I did love, and I miss that sometimes. I miss connecting with my patients and educating them on how to live a better and healthier life. And we need those people. And if you listen to my intro episode, you know that I said over and over again, we need everybody. We need employees. I don't want to turn everyone into an entrepreneur, because then we would have no employees, and that wouldn't work. That would be a big problem. Although the way, in the online business world with independent contractors, it's a good way to have someone to help do the work, but they don't feel like a slave to you. Or they shouldn't. Hopefully they don't. Some probably do. When I had my son, I really realized that there was more to life than just being an employee. And I really noticed how the traditional workforce in the U.S. isn't conducive to being a mom. You know, whether you are working at Starbucks or Target or, you know, for some big corporate office, wherever you're at, it's really, really hard to find an employer who is going to understand and support you being a mom. And what that means for many of us is being a mom comes first. If your kid is sick, you want to be home with your kid. And even if you're forced to go into work, you're not really going to be there mentally because you're going to be worried about your kid and you're going to be pissed off that your employer didn't let you stay home. And that can really become a downward spiral for a lot of employees. That's what I've seen anyway. I know a big issue here in the US is maternity leave. Even as a nurse, I didn't get any paid maternity leave. I took 12 weeks off, but I made zero income and it was a huge struggle for my family. And I just feel like that's terrible. Like, as just being a human being and like going through a terrible pregnancy, a terrible labor, and being a new mom with all of the issues that come with that, not being supported financially is just awful. Besides everything you're already worrying about, somehow you created this amazing little being and then you're sent home from the hospital with this life that you're responsible for and you're exhausted and a freaking hot mess. You also have to stress about paying the bills. So that in itself isn't helpful. But also all of the other pieces like breastfeeding, when you go back to work and you have to go into a room and pump. It was so hard for me to get the time to go pump and to get a place that I could have a little bit of privacy to pump. I didn't have a locking room and enough time to get myself relaxed so I could have maximum milk supply. You know, people could walk in at any time and I was so stressed out about trying to just get it done and get back on the floor that my milk supply really dwindled. And I'm sure you don't care about my milk supply, but if you're a mom who is breastfed, you understand, like, it's hard. I mean, that's just one example of how being a corporate employee or being an employee at all just takes away some of the joy of motherhood. And, you know, the last 3.5 years of my son's life, I really see how fast it goes and how those moments are so precious. It's just not worth it to me to miss out on those things. So that's ultimately why I started my own online business, because I wanted to be home with my son. I didn't want to miss all of his firsts. I didn't want to miss anything. And I didn't want to be told what I could and couldn't do. I didn't want to be threatened that I was going to lose my job if I needed to be with my kid. I didn't want to have to miss out on taking him to swim lessons and gymnastics and all of those things. Like, I didn't want to miss out on that. So as hard as it was being a new mom, being a nurse, being a wife, plus all of the normal household duties, plus we were crazy and, you know, we're moving, you know, we had a million things going on when we had an infant. But I made it work and I created my own business and built it from the ground up as I could in the evenings and on the weekends. And I made it happen because it was important to me. I didn't have to. Like, sure, I could go back to the nursing world, but I don't want to because that's going to put me right back into a place where I'm an employee and I'm going to be told what to do when, you know, where I had to be, when I had to be there. For me, that's not an option. So something I wanted to bring up. So I started the episode, as I always say, I like to go down rabbit holes and lose my train of thought. Apologize for that. I promise I have the best of intentions to stay on track. But how the coronavirus has empowered online business owners. So when the pandemic hit and everything shut down, employees were sent home, you know, everyone except for people who were considered essential, a lot of people started working from home. Up until then, it's like people didn't understand really what working from home actually meant. And it's funny because so many of my corporate friends and family will say now, like, oh my gosh, it's a lot harder than it looks to work from home. Yeah, it is. Like, it's not all just easy. To me, it's better 1,000%. Like, I would choose working from home, but it's not easy, especially if you have kids. If you have kids running around and distracting you and, you know, you're there. So they don't understand that you have to work. And even if they do, they don't care. They're going to bug you. So a lot of these corporate women now are like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. Like, they saw the value in being able to actually leave and have time set aside. Like, this is my work time and no one bugs me during this time. It's not as easy when you're a work-from-home mom, but you figure out a way. So, before we moved to Hawaii, we had the grandparents around. So 3 afternoons a week, my son would go to one of them and I would have the afternoon to work, which was incredible. I got a few hours each week to have some quiet time. It was time when my husband was at work because he still worked, a regular job then. And I got that like quiet alone time. And I desperately missed that. Now that I'm here with no support and with where we're at in our lives, with renovating our condo, we don't have any doors right now. So I have no way to like go and lock myself into another room where I can't be disturbed, which is why I like to record a lot of things in my car, because it's the one place I can shut and lock the door and no one's going to come bug me most of the time anyways. So being a work-at-home mom is definitely not easy, but it's amazing. It's incredible to be able to choose your schedule, be flexible, and work around real life. It takes away huge stressors that you have in the regular corporate world. And when I say corporate world, I'm saying like for any employee. I know not everyone works like for a big corporate office. So those who are at home now due to the pandemic, they're seeing the other side of it, and they're seeing that a lot more can be accomplished at home than they realized. So before I was just 100% working for myself, I was working for a doctor, but from home. And a lot of people think, how does a nurse work from home? Especially, for a doctor. And what I was able to do was do triage over the phone, like I would do if I was in an office. And because everything is online now, I had access to everything I needed. I could still send prescriptions and enter orders and answer questions and, do all of the things that I would be doing in an office, except for actually seeing patients, like in person. So first of all, that's just a really good reminder that where there's a will, there's a way. That was my very first, after I went back to work after having my son and decided like, this is BS. I don't want to work, on the floor with people away from my son. I found that incredible opportunity, and even though I'm not doing it anymore, I'm forever grateful to that doctor for giving me that opportunity, because that was my first taste of being a work from home mom. And yeah, I was on the phone with people, and for a good portion of that time, I had a baby on my boob, but it didn't matter because it didn't affect my work. So the other side of things, now that people were forced to work from home, they see how much can be done from home. And a lot of my corporate friends, say like they don't see an end in sight. Like, they're companies that have previously spent so much money, like so many resources on having the big fancy office and, everything that goes along with that. They're like, what the hell are we doing spending money here when people, we can pay people to work from home and they're still doing the same level of work, and sometimes actually better, because a lot of people are just happier. Now, of course, there's the mental health side of it, which as a nurse and someone who struggles from time to time with, anxiety and depression and all of the normal mental health things you go through as a human, and especially as a mom, I see the value in having a place to go and having a team to collaborate with. And there's times that I miss that. I miss having that collaboration, but I still have it in a way, because as I've built my team, I still have connections. They're not just like someone on the other end of an email that are just doing my tasks that I assign to them. Like, we get on video calls and we talk. We voice chat, we video chat, we text chat, we talk in all these different ways, and we still have those connections. We still talk about real life things. They're just not in person. And of course, I believe in person is super important. Touch, human connection, physical human connection is super important. So I'm not in any way downplaying that or saying that we should all just become hermits and stay in our houses and never have human connection. I'm definitely not saying that. But I am saying that you can find that in other ways without having to be an employee, without having to go to an office. So suddenly it's like those of us who are work-at-home moms, business owners, freelancers, independent contractors, whatever you want to call us, there's a lot of different titles and a lot of different roles. We're not the crazy ones anymore. People are seeing that like, oh, like these people maybe are actually working really hard from home or from wherever they're at. When we can travel, I like to work from anywhere. As long as I have my laptop and Wi-Fi, it doesn't matter where I'm at. I'm getting the job done. So yeah, we're pretty cool. We're pretty damn cool. Because we figured it out before the rest of you. Ha ha, just kidding. But really, like we did. Like we took that leap of faith and we started working from home or from wherever, doing our own thing. And, you know, before it became cool, now it's the norm. And I honestly think even after the pandemic, a lot of businesses are going to go this route, having virtual employees. And one big goal for me, for my team of people is to meet, you know, once a year. I mean, at least, of course, twice a year would be better, but to at least meet once a year for an in-person retreat, because I do think it's important. And the mastermind I'm in, we meet twice a year, usually in person, because it's just different and incredible. Right now, we are not able to meet in person, unfortunately, due to the pandemic. So we're doing it online, which is still cool. It's not the same, but like I said, I do still believe in the human interaction. I like to try to make negatives positives when I can. And obviously, the whole pandemic thing is freaking BS, and I wish that it never happened. But because it did happen, this is where we're at, and we can't change where we're at right now. I thought it was cool how this situation has empowered us as online business owners, as freelancers, as contractors, as consultants, however you want to describe yourself or describe us. If you haven't joined us, if you haven't joined the dark side yet, we're not the dark side. We're pretty awesome. It's empowered a lot of people because we are, oh my gosh, like we do have real jobs. Like we might post a picture at the beach in the middle of the day and you're like, oh, must be nice. They're so lucky. Yes, we are lucky, but we're also, it wasn't easy. Like it wasn't just like dumb luck. Like we work really freaking hard. So anyways, that is my story for today, and I hope that you found some value in it. Please connect with me. I will have links for you to find me online so we can connect more. And I want to know like how the coronavirus pandemic has affected you, your family, your work, because my mission right now is to help guide and empower women, and anybody, of course, but I have, you know, a close connection with other women and particularly moms, because that's the season of life I'm in. Like I'm a mom with a little, and I know how hard it is, and I want to help support you in any way I can. And right now that is by helping you move into a role that suits you in the online world so you can continue to make money, or if you just want to have a project or you just want a way to connect with other people. I talk to people every single day by choice because of my business. It's awesome. And then, you know, on the flip side of all of that, I support current business owners. I help them move their business forward, to grow, to help more people, to make more money, whatever it is that their goal is. I help them by helping them grow their teams and outsource, and it's an incredible synergy between the two. I love it, and I'm here, and I would love to hear from you and hear where you're at and how I can support you. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening in. I am trying to reach as many moms as I can to help support and empower them in their journey. So if you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would leave a 5-star review on my Apple podcast page. I know as busy women, entrepreneurs, and moms, our time is extremely limited and valuable. So to sweeten the deal, I am buying the next 10 5-star reviewers their next beverage at Starbucks. Instructions are in the show notes, and I am so grateful for you. I love supporting moms, and I love moms supporting moms. See you next time.